1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Please stand by for a special.
The stations that always keep you in the zone.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast, Youngstown, Ohio.
If I could be you.
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Nina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Dave Clark, a lot to get to today. I know we're not technically in football season yet, but we're getting there.
Getting there. We're always there no matter what, though, regardless.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, right now there's a lot, though, going on just in sports in general. For those Bear fans out there, if you're happy or not happy, Chicago did sign their general manager, Ryan Poles, to a contract extension to 2029. So I don't know what that means. That he's 39 years old. See what he does. I mean,
I know they like what he did this year.
Yeah,
really.
They brought
he addressed all kind of offensive line. He really addressed it with top flight guys. He bring in top flight. He bring in like guys that's on the end of their careers that we heard about. He brought in guys that's been all pros. From the Chiefs? I forgot. I'm thinking of the tackle.
Well, the lineman.
Tooney.
Yeah.
Guard, tackle. He can play both positions. He just brought in guys, and that whole offensive line is completely different. So you keep Caleb upright, and you get a solid running game, things do change for you. We know that. If you get the trenches right, things can change. And I think another reason for that extension, too, it lines up as the exact same years with Coach Johnson.
Right.
They're both now through 29, I believe, together.
Yeah,
so,
they're kind of joined at the hip.
Yeah, so that way they can join them together. He's a younger guy. Johnson's a younger guy also. See if they can work together and see what happens. And hopefully they don't have to go to the old, let me cut them out of here. We can't wait no longer. They'll do it where they just have both of them out at the same time. But I think maybe Chicago might do something in the correct way. I'm not saying winning their division. I'm just saying showing improvement. And I'm talking about not just on the field, but just you could see that, hey, this team is actually putting something together.
Well, when you look at the division they're in, you've got obviously the Detroit Lions. Mm-hmm. And I think if you think that, you probably figure the Detroit Lions are the favorite to win the division, if you were to look at it.
Yeah.
Then you have Green Bay in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think Green Bay is maybe favored to be second.
Yeah.
Although I think the biggest question mark in the division the Bears are in I think it's the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
And that you've put all your chips kind of in the middle of the table to McCarthy and saying, you're the guy. He's not played one down in an NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking, he is the unknown. Now, if he comes out and plays great, Minnesota showed last year they resurrected Sam Darnold's career.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's waiting to see what Kyle McCarthy's going to do with Minnesota. And obviously, if he does well, Minnesota, will be in the discussion to win the division.
Yep.
If he struggles, sadly, with that team around him, people are going to be saying, well, who's the backup? Why didn't you sign Rodgers? Why didn't you, Buck? Because they're going to all the second guessers are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And so, the only thing is you're putting a lot of I was never really impressed with Kyle McCarthy as a quarterback. I think he was okay quarterback. College, I didn't think he had a great arm or could throw the ball out. I just was never impressed that, this guy is definitely a first-round pick in the NFL. I thought maybe he was a third or fourth rounder, but hey, I'm usually wrong anyway.
Yeah.
But be as it may, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
So they've done all their work on him and feel he is the guy. So
I will say for myself, the head coach is a guy who's been pretty good in evaluating quarterbacks and knowing about quarterbacks. And Michigan, you go off of I can't go off of their offense on any quarterback over all the years they've been there, because it's just not it's a diverse offense. It's not really a pro style, except they run the ball pro style. But as far as for a quarterback, evaluating is really tough. So when he played in preseason, you could see that he can throw the ball deep. He can put it on the line. He was showing all that last season during preseason when he played. You could see that he can get it there. Now I don't know who is their GM, but he did a good job in getting a couple of the linemen out of there. They wanted to get out of there and got some guys in that were all pros other places. The running game, stepping that up even more, bringing in some guys. His receiver is already there, and I think they added some more to it. So it's all in place for them. If they can run the ball, establish a good, strong running game, I think McCarthy will be fine. Because once he throws it, and if he can be at least a bit accurate, you got the receivers that can catch the football. That's one thing we know, and can get open.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's in the perfect, and the thing about it, he sat there the whole half of the season. What I like about Minnesota is that he had that injury. I think it was meniscus, right?
Yep. Torn
if they really
meniscus.
wanted to, they was really in bad shape. He could have really played towards the end of the season. But they didn't. They didn't rush anything.
No.
They didn't have to. You had the quarterback playing fine. Yeah. So allow this guy to stay the whole time, learn, see what's going on, and just get everything under, where he had to learn. He sat there. So now he can come in this season. Eventually, you got to play him. And eventually, you got to find out what product he is, because if he's not going to be the guy, then he's not. I definitely won't do it on one season. He comes out and he's just off and on. Hey, that happens. You see people want Caleb out. A lot of people was there screaming about Caleb. Get him out of Chicago. He's terrible. Then we started seeing towards the end of the season,
he started
made up 5-6 games. Well, he started looking pretty decent. Yeah. So, he started getting some blocking a little bit. Now this year, you come out with a better offensive line, running game. We don't know what could happen there in Chicago. 2 good tight ends. They got the tight end from Michigan in the draft, and they already got Cole Kmet. So the guy is setting up that offense similar to Detroit's offense.
Yeah, and that's kind of what.
And it's going to be interesting to see.
Like I said, take the pressure off of Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
is the focus. Don't put it all on his shoulders.
Yeah, don't put it all on him, because you see he could throw the football. He could
throw. You could see he could play the position. It's though putting too much pressure on him and not provide, like I said, especially the offensive line. He was really getting. Some brutal sacks.
I think he got the most. He was sacked the most. If I'm not mistaken, if you look it up, I think he might have been sacked the most, maybe like 68 times or something. I forgot what it was, but it was way up there, Pat, and how many sacks Caleb Williams had, and some, yes, was his fault, no doubt. But, when you're down a lot, what happens? You start to press, you start to want to make plays. So what happens? You hold the ball a little bit longer. When you hold the ball a little bit longer in the NFL, sacks do happen. So
last year, Caleb Williams was sacked. He led the league, as you were correct. 68 times.
68. That's what I thought. I thought it was the number.
Second place was C.J. Stroud at 52.
Now check his season out. Didn't his season kind of digress? No. Didn't look as good, but because he was not getting protection.
Right.
That guy is so accurate. C.J. Stroud is a very good quarterback.
And here's the thing with Caleb Williams. For all the people that were, questioning, he actually was the most sacked quarterback. Still had 62%, almost 63% completion. But he only had 6 interceptions.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't even look at the rest of this.
He had 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, And C.J. Stroud had 20 touchdowns, but he had 12 interceptions. So C.J. Stroud had double the interceptions that Caleb Williams had. Then third on that most sacked list was Geno Smith at 50.
Goodness.
And he had 21 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. So then the fourth, there was a tie for fourth between Joe Burrow and Sam Darnold at 48 sacks. and Darnold had 35 interceptions, 12 interceptions, and Joe Burrow had 43 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
And now let's check it. When you stop right there with those two guys, now let's look at offensive line play was horrible. And now look at, well, especially Cincinnati is worse than Minnesota.
Right.
But then look at with their touchdowns and interceptions. And then look at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
Great wide receivers.
Yeah,
their whole
Cincinnati.
Receiving core.
So did Minnesota.
That's right. Both of them, their receiving cores are great. It makes a difference. And that's what I'm saying. Chicago trying to upgrade theirs to do what they need to do. I didn't realize that stat. 20 touchdowns. I did not know that. I thought he had, the way they talked about him, wouldn't you think he probably threw 20 interceptions instead of 20 touchdowns? Caleb. I mean, the way they talked about him, the fans, and people getting upset he's horrible. He only has 6, and he played every game.
Yeah. He played 17 games.
How in the world can, now I can understand them probably he made bad reads or did this or did different things during the game. I'm sure he done that. And he's got to get those things corrected. But as far as turning the ball over that way, no, he didn't. He might have had some fumbles too because him running around. But still, that's unbelievable there. In Cincinnati, they better get their offensive line straight because you need that guy upright, and it's usually every other year he's injured because of offensive line
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need the guy. Need him upright.
Actually, when you break it down, I was surprised because the other thing that was interesting that pops out is right behind Joe Burrow is Jaden Daniels was sacked 47 times.
Yeah, he was running around a lot too.
And he had 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
And see, you think, and it seemed like it doesn't seem like his season was better than that. Like he might have had 30-something touchdowns.
That surprised me because I thought Jaden Daniels, I was a little surprised. A, I didn't realize he was sacked that many times. But B,
either.
I didn't realize, I thought he had more touchdowns too.
Yeah, I would at least put him in the 30s, I was thinking.
30s. But here's the one that always, I love sometimes start looking at this. The next tier of sacks, Justin Herbert and Will Levis were both sacked 41 times.
And Will Levis was out there terrible.
Will Levis threw 13 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. So he was almost mano a mano with the interceptions. And you got to wonder with Tennessee, he probably won't be the starter.
No, I think it's Ward without.
Ward will probably get
they didn't
the
draft
nod.
number one.
They didn't draft him number one to sit him behind Levis. I think Levis will be the backup. But the one that always amazes me, Justin Herbert was sacked 41 times. He had 23 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He only threw 3 interceptions all year. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what used to get me with Rodgers. If you ever look at his seasonal stats, he used to be like that all the time. 38 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
Yeah, he
hardly ever threw an interception.
Now, since you brought him up, he happens to be tied with Baker Mayfield with 40 sacks. And Rodgers had 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions.
Yeah, and that's a big number for him.
And that's big, but it's the Jets.
Yeah. Right.
So you expect that. I mean, that was actually pretty good. Only 11 interceptions with the
Jets.
Jets.
Another one. You think he was way worse than that.
Right.
You think?
And if you hear all the people talk about over Aaron Rodgers, he had 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He started off a little slow because of the Achilles, but he actually had a good season. And again, we've brought this up time and time again. If you have a field goal kicker that can make a few field goals or extra points, they probably are in the playoffs.
Yes, you're right. That's how think about 3 games we talked about. It was no doubt it was their wins.
It was the kicker cost them the game. He did against Denver.
Yeah.
The home game, they lost 10-9. The kicker had the 40-yarder. He pushed it, I believe, right. And the Jets lost that game.
If I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a game in which he kicked it and missed it? There was a penalty, and he was able to re-kick it again. He missed it again.
Missed it again. Yeah.
I forgot who it was.
Yeah, but I think you're right.
I mean, all that is just a jinx. It's something that's like a cloud. It just hovers over Jetland.
It is,
and they got to get rid of. They got to get somebody to get rid of that cloud because it's just been lingering for years.
Well,
and years and years.
It'll be Aaron Glenn who'll have the task of changing the culture and changing the losing ways at MetLife Stadium.
I hope he
Jets.
can.
But I'm not holding my breath.
No, I just hope he can.
I just hope he can keep his job.
And yeah, he's a good guy, and he's in New York. They'll be brutal. As soon as things don't look good, what in the world is he in? They'll be brutal.
Yeah, as soon as it turns south on him, it'll be ugly quick.
Oh, and we're being nice.
Right.
Yeah, it's
because the expectation is new coach, new GM. But it's the same owner, and I'm afraid. I like Aaron Glenn. I thought he was a really good assistant coach. Did a great job. He was the D coordinator for the Lions. Right. Did a great job with the defense.
Yep.
Year in and year out.
Yeah.
And he played for the Jets.
Yeah, he's a first-round draft choice.
First-round pick.
And all-pro when he's a corner, everything.
Now, whether or not it equates to any kind of success as a head coach, we're going to find out.
We'll find out soon.
Because it is the Jets.
You'd like to see a change, but, man, I actually want them to be able to win. I kind of want to root for them this year.
Yeah.
Because you know what? They need the cloud to be gone. And then just allow Justin Fields to develop and not be all around this league. I'm in the Jets this year. Next year, I'm on the Minnesota. Next year, I'm on whatever. Just, I'd like to see him get solidified as a starting quarterback and have a good season for them. And that would be great to see. So, because I know he has the talent. It's just some things that's inefficient with him, but he has the talent. He can throw the football. We know he can run the football.
Yeah.
He just got to get some things, probably the mental part of the game, just some things right. Because I think if they can win with him and him being young like that, man, the sky could be the limit for the Jets. But that's a hard task when you think about it. Same way with our nearby Brownies. The same way. It's like a cloud that just, it was over there for everything they play, every sport they got. Until LeBron and the boys took care of that in 2016. The cloud is still hovering over. It still got all you can talk about is Otto Graham and Jim Brown, and I hate to say that. There were great years in Cleveland with Brian Sipe and your Bernie Kosar and all that. And you think of those teams, and think that none of them, they never went to the Super Bowl. They had some great teams.
They had close 2 years.
Yeah.
And came up short against Denver.
Yeah. And then came up short against the Raiders.
Right, yep.
With Brian Sipe.
Yep.
With the
Back in 1980.
Yeah. I mean, right there. They
were
home.
there at home.
It's
playing the Raiders. They couldn't do it.
You know, I was rooting for the Raiders. It was so weird too, because I still remember that so vividly. Because I'm near other family members. I usually don't watch games with people without other families. They all Browns. I'm a Raider. But it was some part of me like, I want my Raiders to go, but man, wouldn't it be nice if the Browns finally got to a Super Bowl? And when he got down there, I said, oh, this looks like they might get in here. I said, now, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And sure enough, it did. And
well, going back into the time capsule, 1980, for those that don't remember, Oakland beat Houston in the wild card round. In the AFC, then the NFC, Dallas beat LA.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously the game we're talking about in Cleveland, Oakland, which was, I guess, technically the semifinals, conference semifinals. Oakland beat Cleveland 14-12. That's the game.
Right.
And San Diego beat Buffalo 20-14. Then Oakland beat San Diego 34-27. Then that put them in the Super Bowl playing the Eagles.
Yeah.
Dallas beat Atlanta. Philly beat Minnesota. Dallas beat Atlanta 30-27. Philly beat Minnesota 31-16. And then in the finals, Philly beat Dallas. Conference final 20-7. And then that was not a good Super Bowl for Philadelphia.
No.
Not a competitive Super Bowl. Dominated by Rod Martin and the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
27-10. I remember that Super Bowl quite well.
Yeah.
I think we all do. Mm-hmm. And, that's how the playoffs, but that when you go back, the Browns won the Central Division and looked like, hey, this could be the year. Sipe played great. They had the Raiders. The Raiders came off a win against Houston, and Cleveland had home field.
Yeah. You just felt like they had it. And then when you never want to go back to that archive when they show the in-game situation and Sam Rutigliano on the sideline, and they huddle up, and Sam says, Brian, we're going to go to Ozzie. Go to Ozzie.
Yeah.
But if he is not clearly open, I mean, not no little window. He said it too. He said, if he's not wide open on this play, throw it in Lake Erie.
Yep.
You remember that? That's his word. Is that throw the ball in Lake Erie?
Put it in Lake Erie.
And Sipe tried to fit it in. And Mike Davis intercepted.
Yep, intercepted.
And it's so weird because he had just said, if he's not clearly wide open, throw it away, because they still could bring Cockcroft at the time. And he was a very accurate kicker back then. You just bring him in.
He was a straight-on kicker.
Yep.
Very accurate, strong leg.
And if you bring him on, that's a 15-14 win.
Yep.
With not hard, down to seconds.
Yeah.
So Cleveland's probably in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, they would have played San Diego next. And then if they beat San Diego, you're right. They're in the Super Bowl playing the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because Oakland
had to beat
Cleveland, didn't play San Diego.
Then they San Diego 34-27. San Diego beat Buffalo the same day Oakland beat Cleveland, all day before January 3rd.
Okay.
Buffalo lost to San Diego 20-14. San Diego was the number 1 seed. Cleveland was the number 2 seed.
Unbelievable.
And Oakland went in as a wild card.
Yeah. In the one game, the Bernie Kosar and Ernest Biner game, that situation, there's another game that's, like I said, I don't watch games usually with people, but that particular day, they wanted all family over. We're going to watch this game. And everybody thought Biner scored.
Yeah.
It's screaming touchdown. I mean, going nuts. And then Jeremiah still got it for the Broncos. Ripped it right out. And Biner never fumbled. I felt so bad for that guy because it just seemed like, he played his heart out. And then that situation had that happen. Man, what a cloud. I mean, twice they went to the championship games with them, right? Didn't that happen twice against Denver? I know they lost them twice, but was both of them in championship situations to go to the Super Bowl?
Good question, because I know back in 1986, it was a conference final.
Yeah.
They lost to Denver because Denver went on, played the Giants in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So,
because everybody thought it was going to be the Giants and the Browns.
Yeah.
Oh, it was talking about old time. I remember the Vindicator having a big write-up that it's like the old days when they used to back in the 50s, and early 60s, Giants and Browns fight it out for, and everybody thought that. And that happened.
Because for Browns fans, the following 87, 88, which was the next year, the Cleveland Browns lost to Denver in the conference final, 38-33 at Denver. Denver went in, and Doug Williams lit them up in the Super Bowl. Washington won 42-10.
He lit them up.
Yeah, he lit them up. He got hot.
Oh, my God.
First quarter in the books, Saturday Morning Sports Page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Back after this.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear, because for years he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202. Get in, talk sports. We're talking football, talking about a little history here. Cleveland Brown history. Bad, unfortunate history for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, probably shouldn't stay on that
2
too long.
years. I mean,
you can put people in major depression if you talk about it too long.
Sadly, with Cleveland, like we just talked about the 80-81 season, won the division, lost to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Sipe and the interception. If Sipe throws the ball in Lake Erie like he was told to, if Ozzie was open or not open,
right,
and should have done what the coach told him, then you're basically thinking, okay, we kick the field goal and we move. At least we would go to the second round,
right,
and play, or the conference finals, and we would be playing our favorite San Diego Chargers.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. But then to make misery worse for the Browns, we move up to the 86-87 playoffs. And that was maybe, if you're going to rate losses, I don't know which one is more excruciating. The 86-87 loss to the Browns, where Elway just drives down the field and beats the Browns. They beat the Browns in OT in Cleveland, 23-20. Or the following year, they lose in Denver 38-33. Both times, Denver goes to the Super Bowl back-to-back. It's pretty much handled by the Giants 39-20, and then gets absolutely embarrassed by Doug Williams and Washington. And Doug Williams,
they beat
might have played the greatest Super Bowl a quarterback's ever played. One game, that might have been the greatest Super Bowl. I mean, he just was just.
He was accurate on everything.
Oh, everything, and I mean accurate. The bombs he was throwing.
Yeah, perfect.
And they were. You couldn't throw those things any better. I mean, and he was in the zone.
Yeah, he definitely was.
And he was that kind of quarterback.
Yeah.
He could be that way. Even he came out of Grambling, he had a big arm, but he could really he could get it going, and he was like no other quarterback.
And see, people fail to realize Doug Williams, they looked at that and said, well, that's the only thing he did. No. He took a young Tampa Bay team all the way to the, I think, a championship conference against Dallas. Yeah, I know it was like a low-scoring game, like 14-9 or something, or 6 or so. I don't know. It was something low. I remember them having a low score, but he was the guy that took them there, and they really were a young football team back then. In there, and he was such a big guy too. That's the thing about it. When I would see him at the Hall of Fame, and I'm talking about in today's, you could just see his stature, just a big guy as a quarterback. He's every bit of, when they said, they like to lie on a lot of that, saying people 6'5", 6'6", 6 whatever. And he's always listed at 6'4". I'm sure he's every bit of 6'4",
he was,
without question. He's every bit of that, and he's every bit of 230, easily. This guy, man.
I believe, I'm not 100, I'm looking at it now.
And they played that game in Dallas.
Okay, this is what it was. That would have been the 79-80 season. I remember this now. I knew it was weird. That was the year that LA upset Dallas 21-19. Tampa Bay beat Philly. This is in the semifinals, NFC 24-17. They played the LA Rams. I think Tampa Bay might have been slightly favored. They lost to the LA Rams 9-0 in the NFC Championship game.
That's it.
That was the year that Pittsburgh beat Houston 27-13 in Three Rivers. And I'm not sure, was that, I've got to look back, was that the Mel Renfro game where he was in and they called him out and Pittsburgh won that game, even though they called it.
Oh, yeah, the receiver,
That
82,
was I believe,
right in the back of the end zone.
In the back of the end zone.
No question he was in, too.
Was that the game? I know Pittsburgh beat Houston 27-13. I'll go back and look. Three Rivers, January 6th, 27-13.
I think that's the year.
And that was that controversy. They show that on YouTube. You see that. You keep seeing that.
Easy.
And they slow-mo it, and they swat over and over. He's clearly in.
Oh, he's in.
And those
so
referees, and poor bum Phillips to this day.
Oh, my.
Poor, he
said
was so
Earl
beside
Campbell
himself.
going to finally make it.
Yes.
They're going to
Super Bowl.
They said, and Renfro, he knew he's in as soon as he got there.
He knew he was in.
So excited. Team was excited. They are incomplete. He's out. Oh, my God.
And that was the year Vince Ferragamo led the Rams to the Super Bowl, and we're actually beating
Pittsburgh. Yeah,
Pittsburgh, and then Pittsburgh came back, scored, and in essence, they won the Super Bowl 31-19.
Yeah, and that score really doesn't tell the true story of how close that game was. And how much the Rams were out in front.
Yeah.
With a broken leg. Was it not Dreyer, but Youngblood, right?
Yeah.
Had the broken leg in that game?
Yeah. Youngblood, I believe, had the broken leg. Yeah. Going back to the Steeler game, we were right. We were correct. It says, obviously, in the synopsis of the game, Pittsburgh won 27-13, but it said, with the Steelers leading 17-13, the controversial play occurred during the last seconds of the third quarter after the Oilers quarterback advanced to the 6-yard line. Pastorini threw to Mike Renfro in the back of the end zone. Renfro appeared to have caught the ball for a touchdown with both feet in bounds before he fell out of the end zone. TV replays suggested a catch for the touchdown is how they're saying this. Well, we know he was a touch. Despite this, the referees ruled the pass incomplete, saying that Renfro did not have complete control of the ball before going out of bounds.
He grabbed that ball and it never moved.
Never moved. Houston had to settle for a 23-yard field goal. And then obviously people go, yeah, but after that, Pittsburgh went on, scored 10 unanswered points in the fourth quarter, which clinched the victory. But obviously, all your Houston Oilers fans and maybe the not fans of the Steelers said that had they given him the touchdown, that changes the whole game.
It does change it.
Right.
The outlook, your approach, everything changes.
Right.
So.
Because now it would have been 7. Pittsburgh would have tied the game.
Right.
At 17-17 and not had to kick the field goal for 17-13.
Yeah.
So they would have tied the game at 17-17, and people believe, obviously, that would have changed that game. But obviously, this is one of those old things, talk show radio. We could talk about all this stuff. Can't change history, but we could obviously say that's a mammoth what if.
I mean, believe me, I had it when the Franco Harris situation, when they, the immaculate reception.
The immaculate reception to this day will haunt.
Now, at that time,
all Raider
it always said two offensive players cannot touch the ball. Back then,
they could not.
And it didn't look like Tatum hit the receiver.
But did he hit the ball?
It's really hard. It looked like the receiver.
The ball hit the ground before Franco caught it.
Yeah, that was another one they talked about.
We never know because the camera didn't pan to that day. You can't see it on replay whether or not it was actually touched the ground or not.
Yeah.
And that's the one where we will never know.
Yeah, that one made me. That one had me sick.
Then your question comes down to if the Raiders win that game, they would have played the Dolphins, who were undefeated.
Yeah.
That was the undefeated season.
Right.
And the Dolphins, if you look at their regular season, I believe only played two teams with above 500 records.
Yep.
And people to this day say, well, they were in a bad division. They only played two teams.
It is true.
It's true. They went 14-0 and then ultimately won 3 games, 17-0. But they really had a soft schedule.
And nobody talks about that.
No.
And they talk about, and it's a great, I'm not taking away. To win 17 games is a great feat. But you ask me, between the New England Patriots, even though they lost to the Giants, they won 18 games straight up to that Super Bowl, right? They lost to the Super Bowl that made them 18-1.
Yes.
When the Giants beat them.
Yes.
I believe that the New England Patriots season of 18-0 before they lost was way better than the Dolphins season. They played contenders. They played some of the top teams. They beat them all. And I didn't like, I'm not a New England fan at all. And I mean, they just dominated. They could stop Randy Moss and Tom Brady. It was just, forget it. It was just, the task was too much during that season. And, Miami kept drinking that champagne and still do it to this day. But they did. They had a soft schedule. They had 2 teams above 500, like you said. And a lot of people said to this day that Pittsburgh was a young and upcoming team. You could see they were building into a championship-type caliber team, but they weren't there yet. And Miami was able to, fortunately, be able to beat them. They think the Raiders and Ken Stabler would have beat Miami if they played in the championship.
If they would have had another,
Yeah.
Because that was the 70, and the Dolphins didn't play. Yeah, because if you look at the Dolphins, their path to the playoffs that year, they had the regular season in their favor. But they only played, the only teams that had winning records were the New York Giants. And I think there was only one other team that had a winning record above 500.
Right.
The Giants were one. And I remember they beat the Giants in Yankee Stadium, old Yankee Stadium. I remember I'm watching the game on TV.
Right.
I was rooting for the Giants, and obviously,
but I think it was a close game. That was a close game too.
It was a close game. And that's the thing I think more than anything drives people crazy is if you look at the 72 Dolphin regular season, to kind of give you a real idea, they don't give there was only, they lost to they beat the Giants 23-13. And I know the Giants had a winning record. They were 8. I believe the Giants finished that year 8-6. And when they were playing the Dolphins, they had a winning record. And I'm just trying to I'll find it at break, but the teams they played were all below either 500 or below. They weren't any good. And the division was bad back then.
Yeah, bad.
Like they barely beat Buffalo 24-23 during the regular season in October. And
I remember that. Remember that too.
Yeah.
I remember OJ having a great game against them.
OJ.
He had a great game against them, and they thought they would beat them. And
that's right.
1 point loss.
I'll tell you, again, I never saw a running back have. I didn't get to see a lot of.
Is that the 73 season?
That was the 72 season.
Oh, yeah, 72. I was going to say
73. OJ went for over 2,000 yards, and he did it in 14 games.
Right. Yeah, that's 72, but he had 1,000. He had over 1,000. Yeah.
And that's the thing what people, again, don't realize was that for about a 6-year time frame, OJ was just blowing up. He was an unbelievable player in the league. He was just running. He was by far the best runner. Some people believe he was actually better than Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Go back, you could get into that argument, but they were great, both great backs, different a lot
of back.
Yeah, different type at a different era. Kind of. Jim Brown was back grinding out in the 50s, 60s. OJ was really in the 70s.
Yeah.
60s, late 60s, 70s.
That's right. Yeah, because he came in the league, I think, in 68 or 67.
Yeah, he came in 68.
Right, 68.
Because I remember when he played for USC.
Yeah.
I remember rooting for him when he was at USC. He was like my favorite college player. I was growing up in New York.
Right? It's hard then.
Well, I had not lived by the OJ that was
before your time going to.
I didn't go. We had not moved. We were living in New York
then. Yeah.
So there was really college football was really like
Notre Dame.
But
yep.
when OJ was with the Southern California, USC. That's when he was on TV and he was running. He was like my favorite player when I was a kid growing up.
Yeah.
Watch everybody, but people don't realize everybody liked OJ. I mean, OJ was so likable.
It's so
sad. It's just
that situation.
Tragic, horrible
tragic situation.
Very tragic.
Changed everything.
Right.
Because
his
persona of who he was.
Right.
Oh man,
his persona and the Hertz commercials, and he was genuinely embraced by
everyone,
corporate America.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And OJ was doing Monday Night Football. Everybody liked him. He was, funny. He was really, everybody he was a likable guy. And just to have that turn, tragedy. I don't know how you want to coin it. It was just, such a horrible situation.
Yeah.
But way before that, when he was a running back, and then when he got into broadcasting and doing that, OJ was very well liked by everybody.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was a great running back.
Yeah. I mean, it's
unbelievable.
Yeah. People don't understand. They say, "Oh, you just get the ball and run to the outside." So that guy ran inside,
everywhere,
outside,
and he had the speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Jim Brown had more power than the speed. He had both, but he had more power.
Yeah.
OJ was more speed, but he had power. He was deceiving because OJ was just so quick.
Yeah.
He was big. He was big running back, but he didn't look that big. He looked so because he was so quick.
Right. That's what people didn't realize.
And people don't realize how big OJ
was.
was.
And say, "Well, what's this?" And it's always 6'2". I think he's like 218. He was a big at that time. That's a big running back. And you didn't realize that he was really had that type of size. You think he is like maybe 190 or something like that. But no, this guy was about 200 and around 12 or 16, somewhere in there. They always listed him as. I said, man,
when he played, I mean, they listed him at 212.
212, yeah.
6'2", 212. And like you said, he was a big guy. I mean, he'd hit that hole, and he had a great line.
Yeah.
And he had a great offensive line to run. He had Reggie McKenzie,
Lon Malore, Mike Montler.
Yeah, Mike Montler. He had really a great. They called it. Well, it was. They called it the Electric Company.
Yeah. Yep.
They had the OJ the Juice. The Electric Company was the offensive line.
Right. Yep.
And they turn it on for the juice.
I still remember him in a game. I know you remember it because we watched them all. Monday night.
Yeah.
No training camp. He was holding out. They didn't want to give him his new contract.
Right.
So they signed him in that morning. And they said, well, he's not going to play. He said, I'm going to play. And they said it'd probably be sparingly. Yeah. And remember that game? He went like near 200 yards rushing. Monday night, first game of the season. I don't remember what year it was. I can't remember, but it was on Monday Night Football. I can't remember who they were playing either. But he signed the contract that morning, played that evening, and had a big Monday night game. And Howard Cosell was going nuts. he loved the juice. I said, how can this guy come in here and be in this type of shape to carry the ball? I still think he still carried way up in the 20s, near 30 carries. But I don't remember who they were playing.
Yeah, that would be, that's something to look up because I don't know if that was that the season he had the 2,003 yards?
It's possible. That might have been it.
Because he had some,
or did he had it, or was it that next season? Because I think the next season he rushed for 1,800 and something yards, which it was thinking he was going to go for back-to-back 2,000 yards. But during that season, he got kicked out of a game, getting in a fight with a defensive back with the Patriots, if you remember that. He still rushed for 1,863.
that was OJ ran for 2,003 and 73. In 1974, he ran for 1,125 yards. But it was the following year, 1975, that was the 1,817. Then in 76, which was probably his last great season.
Yeah, that was it.
That was he ran for 1,503 yards. And he had 5 seasons in a row that were off the charts. He went for 1,251 yards in 72, 2003 and 73, which to me is still the best season ever. Or he did it in 14 games.
Right, yeah.
No one ran for 2,000 yards.
If they go by how they used to do in college. Remember, it used to be that they averaged it out per game.
Right.
And then when you average it out, it's not even close.
But even when Eric Dickerson broke the record, he didn't do it in 14 games.
Oh, no.
I mean, he's a great running back.
Yeah, he needed the whole 16.
But he needed 16 games. That's to this day, to me, always stands out.
I still think that's the standard. If you didn't do it in 14, then you didn't really break the record.
You didn't really break the record.
You gave me extra games,
Right.
And I think they should always asterisk not only his, but a lot of others.
Right, some of the other ones. Yeah, you get into that.
I mean, if I give you 2-3 extra games,
right,
and to break my record, well, okay, great, but it took you longer.
Well, they finally took the asterisk off Roger Maris's 61, but that was poor Roger to this day.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Roger Maris, great New York, great player in his right. But yeah, they took the asterisk of him 61 because he did it. He had Ruth did it in 154. Maris did it in 162.
Yeah.
And the poor Roger, the commissioner then, still, I think, knew Ruth and was adhered to whatever. But yeah.
But even that, it was in less games.
But he did. He had 8 more games to break the Babe's record.
Yeah.
Now Aaron Judge broke the record, although people believe that Bonds has the record, and then you get into that whole discussion about steroids and everything.
Right.
But that aside,
still got to hit the ball, right?
Yeah, you still got to hit the ball. OJ had 5 seasons that were basically off the chart.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
And from 72 to 76, he had a great football player, but unfortunately, things didn't go well.
Yeah, for sure.
I know we're talking more about history here.
Yeah. Having fun with it. I like it.
We're talking about the Patriots. You brought up the fact that the New England Patriots, they went 16-0.
Right, during the regular season, right.
And they actually did have a tougher schedule than Miami.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that.
And I think the game that probably haunts the Patriots would love to trade out is the last game of the season. Then they beat the New York Giants.
Yep.
If they would have said, well, if you would have swapped it out and lost to the Giants and then beat the Giants in the Super Bowl, they would have taken that 18-1.
Yeah.
Because they would have had a Super Bowl trophy.
That's right. Yeah. No question about it.
To this day, they'll always talk about the helmet catch.
Yeah.
David Tyree's helmet is the reason why the New England Patriots are not undefeated and not 19-0.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. I just wanted the Giants to win the game.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I know you did. I wanted them to win
rooting for the Giants
so bad because I was tired of hearing New England. And it was getting on my nerves anyway. I'm already still having flashbacks of Charles Woodson hitting Tom Brady, and all of a sudden there's a tuck rule, and there's no question In my mind, that's a fumble, not because I'm a Raider fan. That is a fumble that I've always seen in all my years of football. Watching it, playing it. If a guy comes in and hits you like, he wasn't attempting to pass. He was holding the ball, looking for a receiver. And I tell you, that was just, let's go, Giants. But there was this one part of you was like, man, this is the closest anybody got to this. Because I was sick of the Dolphins in their wine
that
tasting.
undefeated season
sick
thing.
of that. And that part of you wanted you for the New England. But it was only a small part because ever since that Tuck rule, I've had disdain for Patriots. Oh, man. Just like Chargers fans should have disdain for the Raiders. And I'm a Raider fan. And I'm going to tell you, this play was something. A regular season game. But Dave Casper was so smart to actually hit the ball, bat the ball, kick the ball,
roller.
Until it got to the end zone and then recover it for a touchdown. And the Raiders win. So, I understand Chargers fans hating the Raiders for that.
The Dolphins combined record for their opponents back in 1972, the regular season record for the opponents was 50-87-3. That translates. That's not even a 400 winning percentage. No. That's a 396 winning percentage. Relatively weaker schedule. Right.
But 50 and 87.
50 and 87 and 3 ties when they had ties. Saturday morning sports page is halftime. We'll be coming out. The second half is coming up after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
Someone's got to set the tone out there, boys. Someone's got to set it.
The station that sets the tone for Youngstown Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio. WIDB, The Scourge.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Where is our pizza? Oh, we should have a Saturday morning pizza show. Oh, it is a Saturday morning sports page, and
you almost said pizza show.
Yeah, now we want pizza. Where's our pizza? I like it cheese. Broccoli, cauliflower, please.
Oh my goodness!
Lovely, great.
That was an awful record you just told.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Come on, man.
The Dolphins' opponents in 1972. That was a brutal schedule.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, that will go down. I know they went undefeated, and people will talk about it, but they realistically played. They had people don't realize how bad that division was. That division they were in.
Yeah,
I believe though. Yeah, none of those teams had a winning record in that division.
Yeah,
they were bad. That was just a really bad football team. Yeah, there's only two teams with winning records in 1972. I was right. The Giants were 8-6, and the Kansas City Chiefs were 8-6. Everybody else, the rest of the teams in 1972 were 500 or below.
And they just went. They was just raving about. What was it? They were called the No Name Defense.
Yeah,
was that them?
They were the No Name.
I'm gonna give them props. Now I'm not gonna take everything. They did play great defense. They did. They did. They were guys was there when Greasy was great. Warfield. We know what Warfield was. They even had a guy named Howard Twilley, if you remember.
Yep, Howard Twilley.
He wouldn't drop anything. Jim Mandrich, the old Michigan tight end. They had a very good team. But if you tell me that team, undefeated team, was better than the 16-0 New England Patriots, I'm laughing all day long. Because there's no question what team was better.
Yeah, they'll never really look at. I know
the Bears was better. Even though the
Bears
Dan Marino beat Miami, that team was way better than the 72 Dolphins. Way better.
To this day, the only regret in football, it's too bad that the Miami got beat pretty bad by the Patriots in the conference final. Because I would have loved to see Miami Dolphins play the Bears in that Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been, I think, a better Super Bowl.
It might have been.
At least, I hope that, just because with Marino and Shula,
yeah,
I think they could have at least figured a way, used the tape from the game they beat Monday night. Mm-hmm. The Bears had injuries. I know they're Bear fans. Well, we had injuries, yada, yada, yada.
Did.
But they did. But I just think, I think it was Champagne Tony Eason was the starter, and then he got knocked out early, and then Grogan came off the bench.
That's the guy I used to like. I
like Grogan. I thought he was a really good, had that long neck, he wiry frame, tough guy, strong guy.
And tough. Yep.
I think he was, fighting injuries that year.
Yeah, that's why Eason
so they
finally
played
took over.
Champagne Tony Eason. They called him, and he was. I still to this day.
Oh, he was getting racked up.
He was just getting absolutely. That Bear defense just was.
Well, always made. That's why I said I would have loved it. I actually wanted the Dolphins to go in there.
Yeah.
Because I really believe in that year, our guy, what's his name? Phillips. Not Phillips, but what is the defensive coordinator's name?
You're thinking of Buddy Ryan.
Buddy Ryan was great at making adjustments too.
Yeah.
And I know he would have changed up some things. Then he's still going to play rough, tough football, but he'll change some things up. Because he showed that in regular season against a couple of teams that played him within his division, like the Packers.
Right.
Try to give him little problems. He knew how to change up things. And I think that they would have did something different.
Well, that's the sad part. We won't know. But I would like to think that Shula and Marino and that team.
Oh, they would have to change. They
could have made adjustments.
Oh, they would have had to make
And
adjustments.
I think that Marino had the quick release that the Bears couldn't quite get to him in time. And that would have been Marino's second Super Bowl because he lost the first Super Bowl to Montana. Mm-hmm. So he had one under the belt, sort of to speak.
Yeah.
And going into maybe his second Super Bowl, he would have been better prepared and just, year, and he had a few more years in the league. And that would have just been a very interesting matchup because the Patriots were out. That game with the Patriots, I remember watching that game, and I had a bad feeling that was going to be over quickly. And you could tell after the kickoff and just how the Bears came out that the Patriots really had no shot. And then when Eason was just, maybe a combination of he was drafted in 83 because he was drafted with Marino. He's on that 83, that 30 for 30.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron Meyer, the coach, was the Patriot coach, and they interviewed him, and he's just shaking his head because he goes, when they drafted Eason, he goes, Tony Eason was just a guy. He was just another guy.
Yeah.
He was like he was a college quarterback.
Yeah.
He wasn't big. He was like 6 foot, 180. If you look at Tony Eason, wasn't really a big quarterback. And he looked smaller against Chicago.
Right.
And I remember him getting beat up, but Ron Meyer said, we had a chance to get Marino and we passed on him. And he goes, obviously I wanted him. I was the coach, but I had no say because the GM and
like he said, a lot of teams,
but everybody passed on Marino. But Miami, he got farther.
Yeah,
he got to the last team of the draft. But I just remember when they interviewed Ron Meyer in that piece, he's going, man. Because I saw Marino. I knew Marino was a player. Because, and when we picked Tony Eason, it was just
I don't think to this day did they ever disclose who put out that rumor of him being a druggie.
Well, they thought they interviewed the roommate on the 30 for 30. Was it Freilich?
Yeah.
And they asked Freilich about it because he's in that 30 for 30 piece.
He never knew anything.
And he said, I don't know. He goes, this guy, he's just, to me, he's just.
But I want to know who ever put that out.
And you'll never know. Right.
Pittsburgh, till this day, is one of the best organizations in drafting. They don't miss too much.
No, they usually don't.
And when they know when it's top flight guys, they're going to get them. And at that time, they were having, Bradshaw was he's done. He was sitting right there for him. For them to pass on him.
Passed on him.
Somebody that must have had some kind of cachet. And when I say cachet, must have been big time, a believable person that you can trust in his information. Because for Pittsburgh to pass on a guy that practices in their backyard, right there. They see him all the time. To pass on him, this guy's words must have had to be gold. And then, he fell to Miami. Miami said, well, we'll take him.
Yeah, because Miami, I remember in that
they just really
in that 30 for 30 piece.
Yeah.
Marino, they were.
But they never said who this guy was, who put this information out. But whoever it was, man, he really, he did some things because I think Marino in Pittsburgh, there's so many more Super Bowls.
Oh, yeah.
In Pittsburgh.
Because if you look, again, that's when in Denver, I believe Bradshaw hurt the elbow.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much done after that.
Yeah.
In 83.
And when he came back and he was looking good they was playing the Jets in the playoffs.
Right.
And I'll never forget, he threw a touchdown pass. I forgot to who. He zipped that thing, and when he did it, he grabbed the elbow.
Grabbed that arm.
And he were done. He never played another game after that. It was in a playoff game against the Jets.
Yep.
And he tore that same area, and he was done.
And he was done.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Bradshaw was done. And then when you look at sadly, when you look at Pittsburgh in the 80s, how they just struggled because they really didn't have.
Never had the quarterback.
They didn't have the quarterback in the 80s.
Yeah. I would love to know who that name was that put this stuff out because on him. because I don't see Pittsburgh. I don't. Probably some of those other teams before Pittsburgh wouldn't have passed on Marino, but I don't see them passing at all. Not no guy that type talent practices on the same field that you practice on, right there in your backyard. You see him all the time. Plays in your stadium on Saturdays, home games. You know, at least a couple times because they had their own stadium too. They played, but they would play at Three Rivers on certain games. I cannot believe they passed on him.
Yeah, I was wrong about Tony Eason. They have him listed as 6'4" and 212. I thought he was smaller.
So
he was taller.
I was gonna say I thought he was a bigger guy. He was a slim. He was slim looking guy, but he was a much bigger guy.
Yeah, he was taller. Yeah, I thought he was like 6 foot. He was 6'4".
But the reason I say about the defense is I remember. I don't know if it was Pete Carroll then that was with San Francisco. It might have been somebody else, but they made that adjustment because everybody felt Miami was going to beat San Fran in the Super Bowl because it was the super duper show, and they talking about Mike Duper. No, is it Mark Duper, and Mike Clayton?
Clayton and Duper.
How you going to stop these guys? And they made the adjustments.
Yeah, Walsh.
And just took him out of his comfort zone.
They did.
And that's the thing. Chicago played Chicago football on that Monday night. They played the way they like to play, and you couldn't do that all the time. You had to change up. That's why I figured in that game, they would have did some things to take that explosiveness away from Miami. And that's why I just wanted to see it. Just to have that opportunity, but that's exactly what San Fran did. They destroyed Miami in the Super Bowl. That wasn't even a game.
No,
that thing was turn it off, start watching something else.
That was one of the
worst.
When you start ranking the Super Bowls from competitive,
that
rates. I think the worst Super Bowl from a competitive standpoint would have been the 1990 Super Bowl between Denver and San Francisco, 55-10.
That was.
I remember that game, and
I still see Rice catching.
Yep. And I just remember that game being pretty much over.
It was over. So
Washington and Denver, though,
that was bad too.
With Doug Williams just lighting up that Denver Bronco defense like a Christmas tree. And that was another game that was over, like quickly, like over at halftime.
It was over. You saw them.
Over. They could not. I mean, Doug Williams is just. I mean, those defensive backs must be in their nightmares because watching Doug Williams throw those touchdowns, and I mean, he was throwing rockets.
Yeah, I know.
And I just saw that, and I was just like, that game was over.
I remember they had those little receivers, Sanders.
Yeah. And those guys just outran. They were like, Williams just said, I think he just said, look, just go down and I'll throw it to you. Yeah. You're going to go go to the post and I'll throw it. I'd love to talk to Doug Williams and ask him, hey, Doug, you're in the huddle. What did you tell him? Like, what did you tell I believe Sanders?
Ricky Sanders was one.
What did you tell those wide receivers? Like when the play was, all right, just go down, what kind of was it like a real, like, just go down, like go to the post and I'll hit you.
And he was.
And that's
another guy named Brown. Then another one named, I forgot his name. It wasn't Fred Brown. I don't know why I want to say like downtown Freddie Brown, but they had the receiver Brown, and then they had another one. All small type guys. And I'm trying to think. Was what you call it still playing then? The Hall of Famer. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Receiver they had. Remember he was a consistent big time receiver all the time. Can't think of his name right now.
Doug Williams threw for 4 touchdowns, 340 yards. Washington scored 35 points after being down 10-0 at the end of the first quarter. Washington scored 35 points in the second quarter alone.
Unanswered, too. I mean, this
and it was 35-10 at halftime. And if you had a Super Bowl party, people probably said, well, I got to get home. I got to go to work. And you knew, and then Washington called off the dogs, sort of to speak, and they scored 7 points, and it was basically pretty much over after the second quarter.
Did the running back also in that same game had that big, or was that a different Super Bowl for Washington?
Okay, here's
the guy that played running back and set a record.
Here's how it happened. The breakdown on that was Denver scored on a 56-yard touchdown, Ricky Nattiel from Elway.
Yeah, I remember Nattiel playing for Denver, 84.
And that was kind of right away because there was only 13 minutes left. There was 13 minutes left in the first quarter.
Oh, yeah, so 13 first minute of the game.
Yeah, it was pretty much the first play of the game. Yeah, time was like 8 seconds. Yeah, that was the drive. And then they kicked the field goal with 9 minutes left, made it 10-0. But after that, that's where the light show started.
The fireworks.
This is the second quarter. Start of the second quarter. Washington scores on an 80-yard touchdown pass, Doug Williams to Ricky Sanders. One play, 10 seconds was the drive. 14:07 left. And then with 10:15 left, he hits Gary Clark on a 27-yard touchdown. And then, still in the second quarter, now with 6 minutes, 27 seconds left, he hits Timmy Smith on a 58-yard touchdown.
That's the running back.
That's the running back. And then he hits Sanders right with 3 minutes left in the second quarter, 3:42 left. He hits Ricky Sanders again, this time for 50 yards.
Because they wasn't short.
Yeah, because Timmy Smith scored the touchdown in the fourth quarter on a 4-yard run to make it 42-10, and that was the game.
No one scored. What's his rushing? What did he have? Timmy Smith. Didn't he set that record that he broke Marcus Allen record in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Is that the same game?
Yeah, that's it. Because he ran for 204 yards. Timmy Smith ran for 204 yards. Doug Williams was 18 for 29, 340 yards, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Quarterback ranking 127.9. But that might you could argue that might be one of the greatest Super Bowl performances. Oh, Phil Simms is in there because Phil Simms against Denver went 22 for 25.
Yeah.
And that was almost perfection. So you could get into the argument who had the better Super Bowl. I mean, okay, I don't know. They were both great performances. Doug Williams is definitely in the discussion for the greatest Super Bowl.
Who was they playing? Denver too.
Denver.
It's bad history.
That was
Denver.
The year before. They got lit up by the Giants 39-20 in the year before, and that's where Simms went 22. He completed 22 on 25 attempts, I believe, and he was the MVP of that Super Bowl. Yeah. So
and he got lit up by Joe Montana.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they got by.
They
got by San Francisco. Oh, they destroyed San Francisco that year in the playoffs. That's the year they beat San Francisco, and Jim Burt leveled Joe Montana.
Yeah.
And Montana was out. Mm-hmm. Montana had the worst injuries he had against the Giants. Burt hit him, and then Leonard Marshall almost took his arm off him. He hit him so hard, Montana's elbow almost came apart.
No.
Leonard Marshall just hit him, clean hit.
Yeah,
just hard.
All those
hits were just straight.
They were clean at that.
They were clean hits then. They were not dirty hits. No. They were just.
And still in my eyes, they're still not dirty hits today, but they probably would have got called for something.
Yeah, and I don't really. Yeah, I think the Bird hit.
He got called.
A helmet to helmet. Yeah. Marshall wasn't.
No.
Leonard Marshall was Leonard was a big guy.
Yeah.
Leonard Marshall was a very big man, powerful. And he came around that corner and he just hit Montana. He was running at him. I mean, he just hit him. Montana was not moving at the time. And it was a clean hit. It wasn't like he didn't lower the helmet or anything.
Right.
He just hit his body, the arm, his shoulder, just slammed into Montana. And his elbow was just toast after that. And I mean, it took Montana, I believe, a year to recover.
Yeah.
I have to look it up, but I think Montana didn't play the following year. And that was 1990.
Mm-hmm.
And the Giants won the 1991 Super Bowl against Buffalo on the missed kick.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's another team that's, you're talking about agony.
Yeah, Phil Simms was 22 for 25. It's 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he had a quarterback rating of 150.
Yeah.
Doug Williams was 127. He had 1 touchdowns, but he had 1 interception, but he had 4 touchdowns.
Right.
You can sit there and argue who had a better game. I don't know. I think they were just unbelievable. The thing with Doug
was a surgeon. He drove his team down.
Phil Simms just literally just was on fire, and he was completing pass after pass, like you said, a surgeon. Yeah. Doug Williams was just no surgery. He was just launching that ball, and those guys, and they were beautiful catch. I mean, they were beautiful passes.
Yeah, no. Perfectly on time.
Beautiful, right? And I mean, 80 yards, 54 yards. I mean, they were bombs, and they were there.
Yep. On target.
And they were on target. So you could sit there and you could debate that argument. But you had 2 fantastic Super Bowl performances by Phil Simms, Doug Williams. Neither one is in the Hall of Fame. I think they should put them both in the Hall of Fame, but they won't.
Yeah, neither one of them is there.
Neither one is in the Hall of Fame. But bottom line is, because when you look at Simms, to give you an idea of that Super Bowl, this is how he spread it out. Mark Bavaro had 4 receptions, 51 yards and a touchdown. Joe Morris had 4 receptions. Maurice Carthon had 4 receptions. Stacy Robinson, 3. Lionel Manuel, 3. McConkey, 2. Zeke Mowat, 1. And Lee Rasan, 1. He spread the ball all over the field. He was driving people crazy because he was hitting everybody. Yeah. And like you said, surgically just taking that Denver. And then Joe Morris had 20 yards, 20 carries, 67 yards. They just controlled the ball, and they just, what's his name? Simms just took them apart.
We kept turning the ball over quite a bit, too.
And they outplayed the Giants in the first half of that game, but were only winning 10-9.
Right.
And the Giants were the favorite, but they started off slow in that game. Remember it well. And Denver was up 10-9 at half. And then after that, the second half, the Giants basically went crazy. They scored 30 points to Denver's 10 and game over. And that's when Simms just lit them up.
Yeah, I mean, John Elway used to get destroyed. He
did.
He's fortunate to
won't realize
Brett Favre, and that's
he lost. He was 0-3 in the Super Bowls before he won those 2.
Right.
At the end of the career.
Right.
But then we talked about one of the worst Super Bowls mismatched of all times, and it was the 1990 Super Bowl with San Francisco, where they lost at the Superdome. For San Francisco, Joe Montana beat him 55-10.
Yeah. I mean, you talking about throwing the ball, and oh my God, he was getting racked up. Elway was getting crushed. And I tell you, I just watched the Super Bowl, the one that they was able to pull out at the end. I didn't realize it was like that, but they did. They pulled that out at the end when they beat Green Bay. And that was a game that Favre and them should have won. And Favre and them couldn't get in at the end of the game. It was on a 4-yard line, I think, or a 3-yard line. And they couldn't get in. They had the 4 plays. They could not get in the end zone to win the score, to win win that Super Bowl. And Denver was able to come out with a win. I think that was his second one. I think that's the one. I don't think that was the first one. I think the Packers was his first. I mean, second.
Yeah, they
beat somebody else.
He beat Atlanta. He beat the Packers in his first win, then he beat Atlanta in the second win.
Okay. So
the one that he went, the helicopter one was at Green Bay. That was against the Packers.
Yeah.
Then he made that unbelievable run and took that hit and got the first down.
I mean, Favre was lighting him up. Boy. He was lighting him up.
Joe Montana, that hit by Leonard Marshall, that I think almost ended Joe Montana's career.
Yeah.
He did not play in 1991. He had an injured elbow in 1991. He only played one game in 1992 for San Francisco. That's it. And he didn't even start in the game. Then he went to Kansas City in 93 and 94 and finished his career with San Francisco.
Once
Kansas City.
That year he sat out and they seen what they had in Steve Young.
That's what happened.
Yeah, it was, you're not getting back in.
That's
Even
what
though
happened.
You're great. And you didn't have an injury. This guy is the new guy.
What happened in 91? He could not play,
right,
because of the elbow. Because Leonard Marshall hit in that playoff game.
People don't talk about that. That's similar to Tom Brady and Bledsoe. Was it Mo? What was his name? Mo. The linebacker.
Mo Lewis hit,
hammered.
Drew Bledsoe going out of bounds.
Oh my God!
And
I thought he killed him.
Ruptured his spleen.
Yeah, ruptured his spleen.
Bledsoe said at the time, I think, like he was close to death.
Yeah,
with that hit, because I don't think they realized it was a ruptured spleen away.
That hit,
and he was bleeding.
It was clean.
No, it was a clean hit. Bledsoe was not out of bounds.
No.
And Mo Lewis came over and hit him. Didn't even lead with the helmet. It was like Leonard Marshall's hit on Joe Montana I remember it was not like a dirty hit. It was Marshall was just running around that corner. He beat the lineman and he came at the angle and
he just hit him.
And he just hit him so hard with his body in the elbow. I think he basically Montana played one game after that for San Francisco and then went to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Saturday Morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, back after this quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Here's a fun fact for you. The average chameleon can point their eyes in 2 different directions. On the other hand, the average human can't. So unless you're a chameleon, there's absolutely no way you can focus on texting and driving at the same time. So don't do it, unless you're a chameleon.
Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Nina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
If you want to stay on top of your health, one simple thing to do
is take the pledge to go and get screened for the cancers that might affect you.
So stand up, cancer, and take the pledge at GetScreenedNow.org.
It only takes a minute to take care of yourself, and nothing rhymes with org.
Talk to your doctor about your health and screenings that are right for you.
Saturday morning sports page. We're back on 330-707-4202. We got the Hall of Famer Gessler in here giving us inside information here on what happened in way back when.
Right. Well, we got he's the Hall of Famer. You got to get it.
He's
in.
the Hall of Famer. You got to hear him. He's our Hall. He's in the Western Reserve Hall of Fame.
That's right. He's in it. I don't care if he says he's not a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. He's always going to be.
In our eyes, he's a Hall of Famer. That's all that counts. The only thing that counts on this show is what we think. Yeah, I mean, I just think the thing with Joe Montana is the Leonard Marshall hit on him pretty much ended his career with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, once the young got in there, that was it.
And then what happened, like you said, he got Wally pipped out.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because he could still play. He missed 91, but he came back in 92. He could still play, but Young had beat him out for the position.
Yeah. I mean, you had to give it some. Young was good.
Young was playing great.
He was.
Another Hall of Fame quarterback.
And when Montana went to the Chiefs, he actually played pretty good.
No, Montana had a good...
Got them into to the playoffs.
Got him in the playoffs. He actually had, if you really break it down, Joe Montana had two... They went 8-3 his first season. He started an 11 game in 93. And then in 94, he played in 14 games. All of them. And he, he went, to kind of give you an idea, he still had 60% completion in both years. And he had 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions in 93, and 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And back then, people go, all those numbers, no. But back then, they ran the ball more.
Yeah.
So they weren't, launching the ball all over creation like they are now.
People don't understand that.
And people don't understand that really a different game.
Yeah.
Back even the 90s and when Montana played it, and that's back in the 80s and
that's
the
why
90s.
Guys don't appreciate certain guys. And they're no good. The game was played different.
Totally different.
Some of those quarterbacks, they didn't have to throw like that.
In the game, right. And the defense that could hold the guy, grab the guy, now they can't touch the
they run
wide
free.
receivers. They run free. It's a pass-oriented game now, where back then the receivers were still they could get jammed at the line of scrimmage, a little more physical play allowed.
Yep.
And then now in this day and age, and even in the last 20 years, they've kind of made it harder.
Oh, it makes it harder
for
the
a defensive. Sure. Back then they could grab hold.
Yep.
They could do, Ronnie Lott could sit there and, clock the guy coming over the middle. Lott was just a crazy.
Oh, I love Lott.
I do too. He's one of just an absolute beast in the middle.
I actually did not like the 49ers, but I loved every time they came on. I watched their entire secondary, and I just they got the guy Williamson. I think he came out of Pitt or somewhere. I don't know. I forgot where he came from. That defensive backfield, Eric Wright.
Yep.
Oh my God. I think one of the greatest defensive backfields in college football ever was USC.
Yeah, USC's.
I mean, that's insane when you have Lott, Dennis Smith.
Yeah.
And I think
was it Thurman?
Dennis Thurman.
Dennis Thurman was in that backfield.
And then they had the coach that coached
Robinson.
He coached the Tennessee Titans. Was a starting was the old coach for the Titans when they went to the Super Bowl back in the day? Oh man,
I gotta look him up.
You look him up. He was the starting corner for the Trojans too. He was back there in that defensive backfield.
He coached. He was a head coach for the Titans.
Titans, yeah.
Look up. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get that.
Look up that there head
We'll
coach.
get that up. Let's go to Irish Mike. You're on the sports page. What's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, David. How you guys doing?
Good. How
Hey, what's going on, Irish Mike?
Not too much. You know, I know you guys talking about a lot of football history. I think it's an interesting dynamic playing out in sports now. I think we all three talked about it last week, but it's like LeBron wants out of LA and the Lakers want him gone. They just haven't figured out how to do it yet. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I know we didn't we went off the football path. Yeah, we didn't get to, we were going to get, I guess, to the NBA. Yeah. We just got tied up.
That's all. That's good.
Talk about history because we're old and we like to do that. But anyway, you're right. I mean, the thing is, the Lakers are really in a tough spot because they want to move on from LeBron, but they really can't. They can't find a team that really wants to take on the $52 million salary. And I mean, LeBron's in the last year, and then he's 40. He'll be 41.
He'll be 41 in December.
So why do you want a guy 41 when you know he's definitely on the twilight? Now, he's still playing pretty good.
Yes.
For a guy his age. He's playing better than any 40-year-old player I ever watched.
Ever.
Did he? He could have opted out a month and a half ago.
He could have opted.
Opt in, guys, because no one else was going to give him $53 million. Is that what the deal was?
Rumor was, at least from what I've been listening to talk show radio, Petros Papadakis was on Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. He's basically saying that he does a show with another guy. He does a show out in LA, and he said that LeBron wanted an extension before the new owner bought the team for $10 billion.
Right.
And he wanted to get that done. And they didn't want to give him that extension. Right. So, because it was weird because he kind of thought he was going to get it. And then he was going to say, I'm a Laker. I want to ride the team through and see how good they do.
Retires a Laker.
Right. And now he didn't get the extension. So I guess he felt like he opted in and took the $52 million. But in doing that, it's kind of got the Lakers in a box because they can't do that much to improve the team, which does need help. I mean, they did sign DeAndre Ayton to a contract,
which is good.
So that's good. They got the center, but they need other parts to the team. And
I'm just wondering if they're going to buy him out. That's the thing they're talking about now. If they can, Lakers can buy him out, then he'd be a free agent,
right?
And they said if he becomes a free agent, without question, Dallas is signing him. They said the Dallas Mavericks. You look it up. You'll see it. Dallas Mavericks will sign him immediately if he becomes a free agent.
So I guess is LeBron thinking, because I know he wants to still win another title, and maybe he does.
They said Golden State will be interested too, but they said
Dallas can do it.
Yeah, they said Dallas could do it. They'll put him in there right away.
He'd be reunited with Anthony Davis again. I mean,
right. And ultimately,
Kyrie once he's back.
If you go back to December, January,
Flag.
If we go back to December, January, guys, when Davis was still playing with LeBron, their record was pretty decent. I mean, they were doing okay. Did this trade just fall in their lap? Then they had to do it, getting Luka from Dallas. Basically, Dallas targeted Anthony Davis. That was the guy they wanted. They wanted a big that could stretch the floor and rebound and do all the other stuff. And basically, I'm asking you guys, was this too good of a trade for the Lakers to turn down? They had to take it back in February to get Luka for Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I think they wanted a guy that they can try to rest their hat on, as they say, younger.
Okay.
And they always want to have a top flight guy in their organization. So I think that's what they thought. Anthony Davis, they thought he is in the early 30s, but he's injuries and had injuries and stuff. And I think a lot of his injuries do come from playing out of position, playing the center position. He needs to be a power forward. And getting to Dallas helped him because they got two centers and they both play well. So now he's in a perfect position. And here they thinking they could bring LeBron there. Now you got LeBron, Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving once he's back.
Right?
Yeah.
If the All-Star break, Kyrie Irving will be back in February.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what they're hoping. If he gets bought out, I think he's gonna be in Dallas or Golden State. I really believe that.
I wonder if he would go to the Knicks.
Now somebody did in it.
The only reason
they said they got a nice
here's my point. LeBron wants to get another title. He can go to Dallas or Golden State, but he's got the West to go through.
Right.
Too many, and the reality is there's way too many good teams. Yeah. Now that Durant's with Houston, you got to look at them as that could be the missing piece of that puzzle. Then Denver upgraded their team and added to it. So Denver's better. Houston's going to be better.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, and if you're LeBron, you think, well, if I go to the Knicks, I got Cleveland. There's because Boston's not going to can't compete. Indiana's not competing. After you take those teams out of the mix, Philadelphia, they're not going to compete because Embiid will be hurt, and it's Philadelphia. They just can't seem to get out of their own way. So when you break it all down, there's only two teams realistically in the East that are going to probably be playing for the conference finals, Cleveland and the Knicks, because all the other teams just have got more of the injuries. So if LeBron's thinking, hey, wait a minute, how do I get back to the finals? Then he would obviously LeBron, if he went to New York and got him in the finals, then the New York media would embrace him and say that, my God, he's the greatest ever. He's like our savior.
Yeah.
And the New York media would love that if LeBron came in and got him to a final or even won a title with the Knicks. They'd be, oh my God, it's Willis Reed and Walt Frazier and LeBron James. And I mean, LeBron is a historian with basketball too.
Yeah, they definitely miss
He knows his basketball. I mean, LeBron knows his history. And I'm wondering if LeBron's thinking like that because he knows the easier path to an NBA title is on the East. They're not going West.
Right.
I know they want him to go to Dallas, but you won't have Kyrie until the end of the season because Kyrie's got that, I believe that he got the ACL he hurt. So he won't be ready to probably the end of the season. Now, how good will he be? We don't know. But if you're LeBron James, you want to get another title. You want to get to the East. And the easier path is either Cleveland or the Knicks. And maybe he wants to go, because I don't know if Cleveland wants to mortgage their future, where I think the Knicks could fit him in if they could get the buyout.
That's the only teams they mentioned in the East.
Because there's only two teams, right? Cleveland and the Knicks.
It says got to be a team that's going to.
And he would go back to play with Mike Brown. I mean, with the Knicks.
I know.
So, I mean, that's a great question, Irish Mike.
They said his best years on defense, when people start saying he don't play any defense, and they had to come back and look, his best years was when he played in Cleveland with Mike Brown as the coach.
Yeah.
He was a great defensive player.
Yeah, Mike Brown doesn't get a lot of respect. And I know some of the Knicks fans are upset because I know they didn't want to fire Thibodeau, and I get it.
Right.
But I think that getting Mike Brown, all right, you can argue, is he as good as Thibodeau? But I think he's what they needed. He's a veteran. He can win.
Yeah.
And I think
he might not burn. And he won't burn both ends of the candle. And he's not going to
burn two ends of the candle. So this might work out for the Knicks. But if you're LeBron James and you want to get another title, I would personally think you want to go East to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a tough decision because when you got an array of talent like a team like Dallas.
Right.
What it does there, it allows him to not have to put in that many minutes. Go to the Knicks, he's going to have to play a lot more minutes there. But the path, like you said, is a lot easier. So it's going to be a tough decision.
If you're saying, if he wants out of LA.
And he's talking about taking Bronny with him.
Oh, yeah.
And all the things
I think that happens. I think that's
and that's where they talking about Dallas could fit that in. They get rid of, I forgot who they said.
Yeah, I'm sure they can make it work.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think that's part of the package. You're going to get Bronny in.
I don't know if New York or Cleveland can do that also. They probably can.
I think the Knicks can.
But I'm thinking something's going to happen. That he's going to get about because he's not going to.
Well,
he's a freshman.
He's got a no trade clause, so he would have to approve any trade.
Now you're right. He's still got the no trade clause. The reality here, though, is I think he knows LA's not going anywhere with the way that roster is constructed.
Correct.
All right.
They're sixth best in the West at that.
Right. and he knows that they can't improve enough to compete with the other teams that made big improvements, like especially
But will
Houston.
they buy him out, though?
Well,
That's
the good question. That's it.
Will they just say, "Hey, we're going this
Will
like
they
this?"
buy him out?
I don't think. How does that benefit the Lakers by buying them out?
And
The
I
Lakers have to worry about the Lakers. They're not worried about LeBron James or anybody. They have to worry about their organization.
Right.
And
So-
buying them out doesn't make any sense for them.
And they don't have and they still really don't have much of a bench. You've got a rookie coach now. He won't be a rookie, but
You're right.
I think he's a pretty good coach. It's just that I don't think they have the team. We looked at this a couple of weeks ago. That team that the Lakers have. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is a good center, but he's not going to win you the title.
No.
He's going to make you a little bit more competitive, and you'll be in some games. But the long haul, especially when the other teams in the West have really improved their teams, and Denver and Houston, and then you got OK City, who's signing now all these young players to extensions. They're building the block of the team. The foundation is being built there. So you got Oklahoma City, Houston, Denver, and then Minnesota's going to improve because they're going to be a year older and they're a young team and they're only going to be better.
But
so
if you have opportunity, you read about who are the favorites at the time of the playoffs game. Actually, they had the Lakers number 2.
They did.
Because
they
had just got through blowing OKC out by 30-something in OKC.
Right.
And they said a lot of the mistakes that the new coach made was, JJ playing those guys
too many minutes.
He was blowing teams out?
But that's regular season.
And he's right. And he should have been resting LeBron.
Right.
He should have got Luka, who was not all the way physically fit. Get them guys out and then rest them. And then when the playoffs came against a team like Minnesota, they would have been ready.
Right.
But he had burnt those guys out.
But the other problem there with Minnesota goes back to the roster construction because they had no center for Gobert, and Gobert ate them alive because they had no answer to guard him.
And at first, what he said?
We thought he was Will Chamberlain.
Well, we thought they was going to sign Dwight Howard. Remember when Dwight
All
Howard
that
said,
talk.
I will play.
Right.
I'll leave Japan play. I'll get in there.
Right.
And I know he could have. Against them,
Dwight Howard could have come in and at least given Rudy Gobert something.
Oh yeah, Gobert wouldn't have.
No,
been
at least he would
He'd
not.
been too physical for him.
Right, he could have at least
too strong.
Now the only problem with Howard is he couldn't have put in the minutes, but at least he could have put Gobert and kind of neutralize him. He could not. They
You could
had
have
nothing.
both of them,
Right,
him and Hayes together.
Right, you could at least kind of work him in and try to neutralize Gobert, but they had no answer for Gobert, and then they had no bench. And the team construction, they really didn't have a good enough team to compete. Yeah. And it's not a good season.
It doesn't make sense for them to buy him out, but what do you do, though? What do you do with this team?
And they were saying, there's an article in the ESPN that said that, they're stuck. The Lakers are stuck with Luka and LeBron. They're stuck because they don't know what to do. You're right. Buying them out, that doesn't make your team better. It makes you worse.
No. Yeah.
Makes you worse, yeah.
But you can't compete out there in the West.
Yep, well, they're going to have to
buy
compete
him out, you might not make the playoffs.
Exactly. That's a good point, Irish Mike. You buy LeBron out, you may not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, no.
You'll be lucky to get in the play-in.
But
if you take LeBron off that team, you got Luka and Austin Reeves, and then you got a bunch of guys.
Will you buy them out? Does that change their cap? Does that change?
No, I don't think it. I don't think that does.
I don't know for sure how that works, because if it changed their cap, then they are.
Well, can they go find somebody?
Yeah, well, it's players they can still get.
Here's the other problem you have now. Who's out there, unless they could work a maneuver, but they don't really have much to trade. See, they're really in a bad spot because you're right. You leave LeBron, you cut him, or you let him go. You'll buy him out, but then what are you going to do? Are you going to write the season off and say we're going to mail it in and play for a draft lottery pick? Because
I don't even think, because they don't have no first round picks, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I don't. See, the whole thing with the Lakers,
unless they get a lottery pick in the draft, through that trade.
You bring up a good point. Do they buy out LeBron? But then Dave, your point is okay. How does that make your team better?
Well, it's not. It's not. So I don't know what you do. I mean, I always look at, if I'm running a team, I want all my players to want to be there. And we're all on the same page. It's rough when you have guys playing and they don't really want to be there.
Well, right now, when you look at the Lakers, they have, if you think they have the 8th highest payroll. They have $195 million payroll.
Mm-hmm.
So they owe LeBron $52 million. Luka is $45 million, and he can opt out next year. So they got to look at signing Luka to the extension. But after that, you've got Austin Reeves, who they're talking about trading him because he can opt out next year, or they can sign him to an extension.
But they better get
he
something
could
big
actually
time.
bring something back that they could use. I mean, he's one of their tradable parts where people say, "Yeah, I'm interested."
Well, they better get a good piece. A very good piece for them. They're going to be doing that.
And the only player that they really have under contract is Jared Vanderbilt. He's making $12 million next year, and then he can opt out the following year. But really, when you look at the Laker, the way the team is constructed, after this year, there's no LeBron James. You have to extend Luka, Austin Reeves if you trade him, and you got Jared Vanderbilt. After that, you got Connect. Dalton Connect is on the rookie deal, and that's it.
Yeah, I know.
And then you got to start over.
Yeah, I think you start over now.
That's the question.
I'm out.
Do you buy out LeBron and tank the season?
And see, I mean, it's according to what you get. If you buying them out, and then you got some trades where you can get some trade value back, because really now all they got is second rounders. They didn't trade their first rounders. That's the only way. They got to get something, because it's not going to. It's like having a guy. He's a professional, so LeBron's going to play. He's not going to go out there and say, "Well, I'm just going to be terrible." No, he's going to play. But my thing is, it's like a getting ready to say, next year we're going to be terrible, because he just walks away because he's done.
He's done.
He's done with his good
done.
If he wants
he's a free agent.
He's a free agent. So now what do you do? Who wants to come and play with Luka?
Well, you got to
find out.
Well,
does anybody really wants to come?
And next year you have to find players because you have no one.
That's right.
That's the other reality is when you look at this roster and you look at it, this DeAndre Ayton is actually this year, and then he can opt out next year. He can leave next year too.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you start looking at go to the Hoops Hype, which is a fantastic site, and you look at the Laker roster, after this year, you're pretty much starting over anyway.
Yeah,
and
that's right. That's what I said. I would just start over
Luka
now.
could opt out if Luka wanted out of LA, he can opt out after this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he see that they don't buy LeBron, he might want LeBron to play, but knowing that they're not getting ready to build this thing for the future or have an opportunity, he might say, "I'm opting out too."
Well, the thing is with Luka might look at this and saying, "Why would I stay here? Because there's no team."
That's right.
And then I got to wait for the front office to build this team around me. What's out there, and what are they going to give me? If I'm a free agent, I can go to anybody I want to go to.
No.
He may not stay.
That's right. They're in bad shape, I'm telling you.
Because LeBron's going to be gone. At the end of this year,
in Dallas. He can go back to Dallas.
He could. Technically, what Luka could do is play this year, opt out, be a free agent, and go anywhere he wants. He could go to the Knicks. He'd go to Dallas. He'd go back to Dallas. He could go anywhere he wants.
Yeah.
I know they got to figure the cap out, but at the end of the day, he's a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants to go.
Well, they messed up a long time ago.
Did you gentlemen the other night, a summer league game in Vegas? The Mavericks played somebody, and courtside seats were $2,500 a pop.
Yeah, that was the Cooper Flag game.
Yeah.
They were talking a little bit about it. I heard that on talk radio. They were saying, Cooper Flag, Summer League was playing Bronny. I think it was Cooper Flag was playing Bronny James. And they were in those seats.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how Bronny James sparks interest. Like people want to see him play.
Yeah,
Bronny James, and he's starting to play. He's developing.
He's developing really good.
But people want to see him.
Yeah.
Like he is attracting people that want to see him play.
Right.
Like he's a name.
Yeah.
And It's like
it's funny,
and
but
he's starting to develop and play pretty good in this summer league, and people like him. Like he's a likable guy. They like to watch him play, and everybody's kind of wanting to see Bronny James.
He's an underdog,
right?
Yeah,
right.
And everybody and
people say it's senseless. It's always grinding at LeBron. People have been doing this for 23 years. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, cut.
That lets you know how powerful.
Yeah,
all around, not just as an athlete, but just period that he is.
It is, but
and the jealousy.
It's
just ridiculous.
What I like is the fact that people actually are like they're being drawn to Bronny to see him play. Like people want to go watch that kid play. They see. I mean, maybe they think, hey, he's developing, and maybe because people are down on him and everybody wants to see him play. And the other thing too is he seems he's a quiet guy. He doesn't say anything. And he doesn't, he doesn't nothing at all off the court, and everybody wants to see him play.
Yeah. And he do be playing pretty well. I done watched a couple of games.
And he's playing good. He's developing, and I kept saying this. I thought he should have stayed in college and developed his game because I think you don't know how good he could be.
Yeah.
But he's playing good.
Yeah. I think that G League really helped him. What you think, Irish Mike? I mean, really
absolutely. More playing time. You're playing against better players.
Right.
Better players than in college.
In college. In fact, it may work out better for him because he's playing against better competition in the G League, and he's really developing his game.
That's something.
And at USC being in the Big Ten, he's probably didn't want to do all that travel. The Rutgers and Penn State have
that's right.
The country all the time.
Yeah, you're right.
He would travel more in the Big Ten than he would in the G League.
100%.
Yeah.
He'd get more miles, airline miles.
Yeah. Be burnt out.
He'd be
he'd be burnt out if he still
if he was in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Now USC's in the Big Ten.
That's right.
Yeah.
He'd be all over with the
all over with that.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's interesting. People are getting into watching him play. He's like attracting viewers, eyes on the set.
Yeah.
People are watching Bronny. They want to see what he's doing.
I think he's going to have playing time next year.
think he's going to get to play a lot next year.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially with the Lakers, he might be starting with that team. All right.
Have a great weekend, John.
All right. Bye. Oh boy. That was good show, Dave Clark. Thanks again.
Wow.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. Stay safe. Do not drink and drive. Have a good weekend. Western Reserve Radio.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem Sports Talk is on the iMedia1 Network. Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast.
Secure your spot now at CircleLasVegas.com.
Looking to get an edge over the sports books? Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get access to an encyclopedia of knowledge from Steve Makinen, VSiN's analytics guru and expert handicapper. With a VSiN Pro subscription, you can view daily matchup data based on 3 sets of power ratings from Steve, as well as his published analytics reports and weekly betting systems and trends to help you become a better bettor. I'm managing editor Adam Burke, and I'd love for you to join us as a VSiN Pro. Check out vsin.com/subscribe for more information.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hour number 2 of the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, the women's Wimbledon final about to get underway. We will keep you updated as things unfold over there. We had Zachary Cohen on last hour to give us his thoughts on the women's final. Both he and I, and when I mean I just listened to Zach and Drew Dinsick, have a ticket on Iga, so he took a little position to hedge off of it with Anisimova, but he did say if you don't have a bet on this one, he does like Iga. I think minus 2.5 games was the bet that he liked in that one. You can read about it over at vsin.com. But we are getting closer, ladies and gentlemen, to the start of the football season. NFL, college football, 42 days from today, we'll have week 0 action. 49 days from today, we'll be in the thick of it there on Labor Day weekend. I know a gentleman who's been putting in the hard work, no doubt about it, is our good friend Paul Stone, who joins us right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Paul, you were down at Big 12 Media Days as we have we've started the Media Day circuit. SEC coming up this week. We're going to have Mountain West here in town, which is exciting. But, a conference that is near and dear to your heart. We're going to get to some of your bets here in just a moment. But when you look at a conference like the Big 12, Paul, do you enjoy it because there is so much unpredictability? When you look at last year, Arizona State picked 16th out of 16 teams and goes on and wins the whole thing.
I enjoy it. And, it's not the SEC or the Big Ten in terms of, the upper half. But you look at this conference, Tim, last year, the Big 12, 4 teams tied for first at 7-2. 3 more teams, 1 game back at 5-3. So you had 7 teams finish within 1 game of one another at the top. You had 2 more teams at 5-4. It's improbable that will happen again in 2025, but you certainly have that same type of balance. You don't have any great teams. You got a lot of good ones. I think there are 7 teams that can win this league. Those teams being Arizona State, Utah, Kansas State, Iowa State, TCU, Baylor, and Texas Tech. So it's just a wide open conference. Got some great quarterbacks, 9 quarterbacks return that threw for over 2,400 yards last year. So some great quarterback play. I love the Big 12.
I love the quarterbacks. I'm glad you hit on it because there are really good quarterbacks up and down in that conference. And one is Arizona State. And before we get to one of your best bets, by the way, you could always tweet us. He's at Paul Stone Sports. I'm at One Tim Murray. Kip Heisterman says, was about to go for a run, but since Paul Stone is coming on,